Welcome to another edition of the Cavalier podcast. It's your boy Mac. Tonight, our Cleveland Cavaliers took on the San Antonio Spurs for the second and final time this season, with a chance for sweep number 15 on the line, as well as getting one step closer to locking up that number one seed. And you bet your sweet ass that they were going to come to play today. And right out of the gate, they were looking to end things early as humanly possible. And you know what? I'm just going to keep it a buck. I give it all the credit to the San Antonio Spurs. They would not go away, as you will soon hear down the stretch. But the way that the game started off was completely different than the way that the game ended. Let's just start off, shall we? The entire team shot a collective 14 of 25, which is good for 56% from the field, including 10 of 16 from three-point range. But the story of the game, especially early on, it was all Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley was phenomenal. Dude scored nearly half of the Cavs' first quarter points. And while that within itself was mighty impressive, it's the way, in my opinion, in which he scored those points that was truly the most impressive. Mobley turned into prime Steph Curry out there in that first quarter, as he would drill 4 first quarter triples. He was locked in from the jump, and that wouldn't change for most of the game, whether that be on the offensive end or the defensive end. To me, like, what the hell does this guy have to do to get the recognition that he deserves? I mean, seriously, does he need to go on a media tour like Draymond Green? Does he need to start his own podcast and talk his way into it? What the hell does this guy have to do to get the recognition that is rightfully deserving? Mobley is the real defensive player of the year, and I think we all know that. And the rise and development he's had offensively are a big reason why he is also in that conversation for most improved player. It's why he's likely to be named to All NBA, most likely second team. It's why he was already named an All-Star, and why the Cavaliers are title contenders in the first place. He's just taken a huge leap this season, and he's now drilled 81 total triples after tonight on a pretty damn good percentage at over 37%. He's been awesome this year. The team collectively was on fire from three-point range in the first half. It was their second game of the season with at least 15 three-pointers in a first half of a game. They shot 50% from range. They just couldn't miss. 15 of 30 to be exact in the first two quarters. And everybody, and I mean everybody, was drilling trays, whether it be Donovan Mitchell, who went 3 of 3 from range in the first half, DeAndre Hunter, who contributed 13 first half points, and drilling 3 triples of his own. 6 different Cavaliers knocked one down during that span, and all 10 players who got into the game scored in the first two quarters, leading to a 67 point first half. Just absolutely phenomenal first half. The 21st time this season that they have scored at least 67 points in a first half of a game. The team's ability, clearly, to heat up at the drop of a hat was on full display. And that's something that we have come to love about this team, is they can just go from 0 to 100 so quick. And they led by as many as 23 points in the first half. Keep that number in your mind, because like I said, the game did not finish the same way that it started out. They led by as much as 23, as many as 23 points in the first half, and went on multiple runs. There were just 3 ties and 0 lead changes in that first half, and it would remain much that way right up until the stretch. No lead changes, if I'm not mistaken, in this game, but man, it was a freaking nail biter down the end. Just 3 total lead changes again, 3 total ties, 0 lead changes. Biggest run of the night was 9. But the first half was completely different from the second half that we were given. It was complete dominance in the first 2 quarters, utter and complete dominance from the Wine and Golders tonight in that regard. And I think so much of what is lost in how dominant they can be is how they generate a lot of the looks that they actually get. There are so many moving parts, so many actions and side actions that lead to clean looks from range or from the mid-range area or down in the painted area. It's things like getting Isaac Okoro involved as a screener and hitting him on the short roll where he can reroute it at that point to a shooter or a big that's cutting along the baseline or in the dunker spot, or Max Strus and Jarrett Allen executing well-timed DHOs and pick and roll sets. And Strus, man, this man is constantly setting flare screens. You got Sam Merrill getting involved in a lot of zoom actions. There's the big passing that we have come to love during the Mobley and Allen era, which is a big reason why Mobley got so many open shots on the perimeter. And we know that teams still don't respect his ability to shoot, but I suspect that after the season that he has had this year, that is going to completely change going into next season, maybe even in the postseason. I'm not sure. And then you look at how they shut down San Antonio in that first half, limiting them to 6 of 21, which is good for 28.6% from three-point range in the first 2 quarters. That was fun. That was a fun first half. Fun, really fun first 2 quarters. And then a big change was made in the second half of this game, that being that Cavs big man Jarrett Allen would be replaced by DeAndre Hunter in the starting lineup, with Mobley effectively starting at the center position to begin quarter number 3. And for a man that has played in all 77 games this season, it was well-deserved. Let me just point that out. That was a personal goal coming into the season for him, and he's been fortunate enough to not have it ruined by injury, and the Cavs were in a position, at least early tonight, to afford him the opportunity to sit while technically still keeping his streak alive, right? He's appeared in every single game this season. He's on track to play all 82, and I love that, right? You just don't see guys go out there and want to do that because everybody's about load managing. Everybody's about making sure that they don't get hurt at any point during a season. And Jarrett Allen, despite what the norm is these days, decided he wanted to be an Iron Man and he wants to play all 82. So credit to him for doing that. But apparently the organization, along with Jarrett, came to a compromise and said, hey, okay, well, you can play tonight, but you're only going to play the first half, but you got to rest in the second, which on the surface, it's awesome, right? Because you want these guys who have earned rest, especially Jarrett Allen, to get the rest when it is available. And at that point in the game, up the way in which they were, it certainly looked like a good idea because the Cavaliers on paper had more than enough talent to overcome whatever run that San Antonio could potentially go on. And go on a run they did. And we'll talk about that in just a second. But you had the allotment of time, you had the allotment of players to make this a viable option. And so that's what they ended up doing. Jarrett Allen did not touch the court in the second half of this game. And I hope you guys didn't bet any money on him. I'll just put it that way, because I had somebody suggest to me, and I know this is completely dependent upon how you view sports betting, right? One of the things that was said to me is that if a player in a team comes up with this idea that it should be disclosed to the general public, and I don't know. I don't feel like you should have to go out there and do that from an organizational or coaching standpoint, because one, you don't want to tip your cap or tip your hand, right, to the other team. You don't want to let them know what the plan is. That can change the way a team game plans for you. So I can't necessarily agree with that, but I definitely understand anybody's pain who lost money tonight. How did it affect things? That's the biggest question. Well, San Antonio went on a bit of a run to open the half, and that would only continue as they pulled within 6 in that third quarter, but it never at that point truly felt like it was in danger. And it wasn't like the Cavs stunk it up in the third quarter or anything. They shot a collective 9 of 18, or rather 50% from the field in that third quarter. But with JA out, things definitely shifted from a defensive standpoint and from a way that the offense was functioning. And while Mobley is a vicious and effective rim protector and deterrent, DeAndre Hunter's style of defense is completely different. He is not really an imposing presence in the interior on that end in the way that Jarrett Allen is. That's not to say DeAndre Hunter is a bad defender. It's just that they're two different types of defenders. And while Jarrett is switchable in the same way that Evan Mobley is, the type of defense that the Cavs count on DeAndre Hunter to play and the type of defense that they consistently get from Jarrett Allen are different levels, right? And not necessarily saying that they're on different levels as defenders, but they are asked to do two different things most of the time. And with DeAndre having to not necessarily slide up a position because he has played the bulk of his minutes at the power forward since joining the Cavaliers, the defensive scheme is a little different with him out there, and the way that opponents will play them when Mobley is at the 5 and you have Hunter or Wade at the 4 is a little different than the way that they would play them with Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley out there. It's a little different with double big out there. And so you got guys like Bismack Biyombo being way more active on the glass without another true big body out there. And as a result, they got out rebounded in that third quarter, if I'm not mistaken, 16-13. And they ended the quarter after having a big ass lead up just 91-82. So just a 9-point lead. That said, on the trade-off was we got more actions between Strus and Mobley. We got more rim pressures from Donovan Mitchell and DeAndre Hunter. Isaac Okoro got more run. We got some inverted pick and roll action between Mobley and the guards, which is one of my favorite little wrinkles of when Mobley is handling the rock, which I love, right? I love that. So I'm trying to be transparent here. Sam Merrill kicked the fourth off with a triple. Donovan Mitchell quickly followed that up with a pull-up triple in transition after a Spurs miss, quickly pushing the lead up to 15 in the fourth. He would drill another a few possessions later after, in front of Stephon Castle, and then push the lead further at that point up to 16. But then the Spurs would make a real push, whittling that lead down to 4 after a Barnes triple, and then he cut it to 1 after a subsequent triple, and that really put the game in question for the Cavaliers. Not a position that I don't think anybody, including myself, thought that they would be in at that point, right? They had looked dominant most of the night. They made the change and sit Jarrett Allen down, and in his place, DeAndre Hunter takes over in the starting lineups. You slide Evan Mobley over to the 5, and the way that the offense is functioning is a little different, right? The way the defense is out there playing is a little different. The way that they rebound the basketball, it's a little different. Everything changes when Jarrett Allen is not out there. And this is not to say that, the Cavs can't win without Jarrett Allen or anything, but I hope that you watched and you saw the biggest impact that this man can have out there. And most nights where he's completely underappreciated by a large number in this fan base. And you felt that in that second half, in which the rebounding was visibly different. The defense, especially on the interior, was notably different in the way in which they ran some of their offensive sets. It's different. It's a different look. And while I appreciate getting to see DeAndre Hunter log minutes with some of the other members of the core 4, you can clearly tell that change kind of shifted things in the offensive approach. So that wasn't nice. It was not nice to see the team lead by only 1 with, final possession down, and to see, I believe it was Barnes who got the opportunity to win the game for San Antonio. And man, he got to a spot. I got to admit that he just missed the shot. And I'm glad that he did, obviously, because the Cavaliers secure win number 62 of the season. They secure sweep number 50, sweep number 50, holy hell, sweep number 15 on the season. But after the game that the Cavaliers played in its entirety, when you look at the juxtaposition between the first half and the second half, oh man, it really, really would have been negative in terms of the vibes in Cleveland and on social media regarding Cleveland. And I'm glad that they were able to avoid a good bulk of that. However, you're still gonna get a lot of naysayers after this performance. And you know what? I can't even say nothing about it because the second half effort, it was pitiful in many respects. And the Cavaliers, this is coming in a night where, again, they began the game just absolutely putting belt to ass out there, as they should, without Wemby out there, without De'Aaron Fox out there. This was a game that they were obviously expected to win, and to see San Antonio really, really try and scratch and claw their way back into this, to back to one possession within the game, it's admirable. So credit where credit is due. Give them their fair share. Give them their props. They put up 113. They scored 113 total points. They shot 43.6% from the field, and they got big time contributions from some of the young guys on the roster, right? Stephon Castle, who probably would be on Shaqtin' the Fool or Bricks Center, right? Missed the dunk tonight, but that doesn't mean that he was terrible. 22 points for him, 9 rebounds, 10 assists, just a rebound shy of a triple double for him. Bismack Biyombo, already mentioned, not a younger guy by any stretch of the imagination, but upon JA leaving the game, Biyombo was way more active on that glass, as he would finish with 10 rebounds, led the Spurs in rebounds. And you got guys like Devin Vassell, who was knocking down triples left and right, went 6 of 10 from three-point distance, 9 of 18 overall for a grand total of 24 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals. He was gunning in that second half, especially in that fourth quarter. And you got Barnes really, really making some of the plays of the game for San Antonio down the stretch with those 2 huge triples that cut the lead to 1. And he could have won the game. He could have won the game for San Antonio, and it would have been a pitiful loss on a night where the Cavaliers were looking to get a step closer towards knocking the Boston Celtics off as the best team record-wise. And when they already have the best record, but securing the number 1 seed in the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. It looked imminent at one point, and I think it is, right? They enter tonight needing to win just 2 more games to lock up the number 1 seed, or a win, and I believe the Celtics lost, and they could have gotten it tonight as well. Didn't happen on the Boston front, but they picked up win number 62, and they only need 1 more win to officially lock up that number 1 seed. And at that point, rest is likely to be had in the final 5 games of the regular season, if they are able to do that, or should I say the final 4, right? Because 77 games, they got 5 left. If they secure it after their next, then the final 4 games, you're probably going to see a lot of rest as they look to get guys like Luke Travers, Monty Bates, Craig Porter Jr., Naquan Tomlin. You can throw Javonte Green and the newly acquired Chuma Okeke in there too. Like, I look forward to that. What I did not look forward to tonight was the second half effort that I saw. It just was not pretty at points. I'm happy that Jarrett Allen got the rest. I'm happy that the Cavaliers picked up the win, but the drop off in terms of effort, in terms of the glass, on the defensive side of the ball, it was waning. And obviously, I'm not worried about this team. I continue to preach the the gospel of them. They are now 18-5 post All-Star. So people, keep that in your minds. They've only lost 5 games out of 23 total games during this post All-Star break stretch of the season. So in the second half of the season, 18-5 is nothing to be disappointed with. However, I do understand people being somewhat upset or somewhat frustrated with the level of inefficiency at times, the level of lackadaisical play out there. Just the effort level from a mental standpoint seems to kind of come and go in specific quarters. And that has kind of been the norm in this second half of the season, as the Cavaliers at times just look like they're bored. But we don't want those bad habits to set in. So I understand the frustration centered around that. I'm just hoping that the Cavaliers can snap out of it when it matters the most. And obviously, again, 18-5 now in the second half of the season after tonight's victory. So nothing to truly be concerned with, but it was This is gearing up to be a really bad loss after the way that the game started. But overall, a good performance from the likes of Evan Mobley. good performance from the likes of Evan Mobley kind of overshadows some of the bad things that occurred in that second half. You look at Mobley's night in particular. So he would finish with 25 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 blocks, a steal, was a very efficient 10 of 13 from the field, which is good for 76.9%, including 4 of 6 from three-point distance. That is 66.7%. This man was drilling tray after tray in that first quarter. And you know what? That was the most beautiful part of the performance tonight. The confidence to take that shot. This is the 4th game of Evan Mobley's career in which he has drilled at least 4 triples. All of them have come this season. The progress that he has made this year can be heavily attributed to the confidence that Kenny Atkinson and his coaching staff have instilled in him, but I got to give credit where it's due to the player as well. I can tell you all the live long day if I'm your coach, take the shot, take the damn shot, but it's ultimately on you as the player to go out there and perform and do that. And Mobley has done his part this year, and he has knocked down again 81 triples on the season, which is obviously a career high for him. And the percentage and volume is right around where you want it to be. Progress has been made, and it's been great to watch that development all season long. You see the shot chart to the right here. You have 3 of those being above the break. You have 1 coming in that right-hand corner, and the rest of his work was down in that post area. One of the possessions that he had where he was just absolutely bullying his way to a foul call. That was beautiful stuff to watch. The aggressiveness to watch from Evan Mobley, I think, can go a long way, and I think that will become doubly so come the postseason, where teams are probably going to try and take the ball out of Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland's hands and ask Evan Mobley to step up and beat them. And I think Mobley is more than capable when you give him the touches. One of the things that I really, really wanted to see from Cleveland tonight, after seeing Mobley go, I believe 7 of 8 from the field in that first half, was to continue to feature Mobley in the third and fourth quarters. And I just did not feel like that was the case. He took 5 shots, if I'm not mistaken, in the second half total. That is not necessarily what you want to see, ladies and gentlemen, if you are a fan of the Cleveland Cavaliers. He was 3 of 5 in the second half, 60% from the field. How many of those shot attempts came in the fourth quarter, you ask? Well, I'm glad you asked. Just 2. Evan Mobley got 2 shots. He got 2 shots up in the fourth quarter. No bueno, if you ask me. You look at DeAndre Hunter, who took 3. You look at Donovan Mitchell, who took 5. You look at Darius Garland, who took 5. Not what you want to see, man. I wanted Mobley to be featured more in that fourth quarter. And I get it, right? The Cavaliers are feeling like there are a number of players that are deserving of touches. They're trying to get guys rest. That's why J.A. didn't play the entire second half. And you're probably going to see more of that, to be honest with you. But I really wanted them on a night where Evan Mobley was looking completely dominant out there. I wanted them to continue to give the rock to him, give the ball to him. And I know that down the stretch, after you got the back-to-back triples from Harrison Barnes on the opposite end of the floor, I know that DG has been the most clutch player on the team this year. I think he had 99 total clutch points entering tonight. And I understand the conversation, and Donovan Mitchell's right behind him, I think, with 88. But I still wanted them to feature Evan Mobley a little more down the stretch here. You got to do it, especially if you don't have your other big man out there and Jarrett Allen, who we've seen dominate. He came into this one dominating over his last 4 games, averaging over 20, averaging nearly 10 rebounds, shooting basically 85% from the floor. It's ridiculous, the production that they have gotten from Jarrett Allen as of late. And I know that wasn't necessarily the case tonight in the first 2 quarters, as Mobley was the one putting in work out there, but Jarrett Allen has really, really been exceptional the prior 4 games. He was averaging 20.8 points, 9.8 rebounds, a steal, was shooting 85.4% from the field, and that gave him a true shooting percentage of 84.1%. Just absolutely efficient basketball that was being played by Jarrett Allen. So his presence was totally missed. totally missed in the final two quarters. Nevertheless, a win is a win. I'm happy the Cavaliers were able to pull a win out at the last second. It was able to limit Harrison Barnes from the game winner that probably would have been all over Sports Center and the highlight reels everywhere and, social media. But I'm glad they avoided that overall. Let's hop into the chat, shall we? Kirk Davis says, J.A. pissed me off, had him for 14 and a half points. This motherfucker got 4. Look, man, I get it. I do. But what's more important, your parlay or Jarrett Allen's health? That's what I would ask you. Brilliant Damage says Hunter sold this game. I mean, if you want to look at the second half, I suppose he finished the game with 18 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, shot 7 of 16 from the field, including 4 of 8 from 3-point range. The first half was completely different. I think he had 13 points in the first 2 quarters, would finish with 5 down the stretch after starting in place of Jarrett Allen in that second half. Yeah, didn't love it. Noah Hayer just says, I can't lie. I don't know how Barnes missed that. He shouldn't. That was he got to a spot. He had the opportunity to win, and he didn't, and I love it. D Jackson says, we got it done, Mac. We did. Credit where it's due to the San Antonio Spurs. They did not quit. They did not have Wemby. They did not have De'Aaron Fox. This was a solid-ass performance from them, considering what they had to work with compared to what the Cleveland has to work with. Jonathan Smith says, what a game. I agree. J47 says, about to lose my voice after that second half. I can't blame you. He also says, disgusting win, but a win nonetheless. Agreed. Skeletor says, a win is a win is a win. Hey, man, you said it. I agree. William Hoover says, Cavs better not do me like that again. That was almost miserable. It really, really would have been had they lost. I would have had to probably put my phone on Do Not Disturb because I would have gotten people hitting me up and just shooting me just despicable messages or tweeting at me in ways that just are not really warranted. But I'm glad they avoided that. Jonathan Smith says, this team's weakest link is small ball. They can't seem to find a rotation that works, especially without Ty. I mean, you didn't have Dean Wade tonight. You didn't have Ty Jerome. Those are 2 key pieces of your rotation. Ty is the 6th man of the year candidate that we know he can be. He is the leader of that second unit. And Dean's ability on the defensive end, ability to rebound, ability to knock down that perimeter shot as a member of the front court, it's valuable stuff. That's a big reason why we think he's going to be so damn valuable come the postseason. But yeah, those are 2 key pieces in the rotation, and replacing them is more often than not pretty damn tough, even with Craig Porter Jr. on the roster, even with Javonte Green, whose 3-point shot just really hasn't been that great as of late. It hasn't been really, really anything to brag about since joining the Cavaliers. Now, on the season as a whole, he's shooting 35.4%. Coming into tonight with Cleveland, he's shooting 36.4%, but it's coming on extremely low volume at 1.7 attempts per game. So he's only played about 8 minutes per game. So you can take the sample size and the percentages for, with a grain of salt, but his shot just hasn't been falling like you'd want it to. And Green would go 0 of 3 from 3-point range tonight. And he's out there. A big chunk of his minutes is to fill in for a Dean Wade being absent. Ditto for Isaac Okoro, who I don't really have too many gripes with. 6 points, 4 rebounds, did his job out there on the defensive end. And offensively, you're not really expecting him to contribute a high amount of points. The same way you're not expecting Dean Wade to contribute a lot from an offensive standpoint. You just want him to knock down the corner triple. You want him to and Dean is actually a pretty decent shooter from above the break, and you want him to do what he does on the defensive end. But yeah, I say all that to say, trying to replace the minutes that you get from Ty and Dean can be pretty tough at times, especially if you're also sitting Jarrett Allen. That's 3 rotation members that you're technically down. Brilliant Damon says bad offense late and Hunter's defense almost cost us. I agree. He also says, how does Hunter get cooked by Barnes like that? Barnes is still a decent scorer. I mean, credit where it's due. I'm not going to disparage Barnes because at Hunter, and Hunter has actually been very good since coming over to Cleveland as a isolation defender. I think coming into tonight, he was actually limiting his opponents to somewhere around 38% 38% from the field. It's his perimeter defense, his defense in isolation in particular has been completely different since being acquired by Cleveland, but he can be beat at times just like anybody. And again, he's limiting his opponents to 38.1% post All-Star, which is among the best numbers in the NBA. Jonathan Smith says, not because Mobley is quiet, but because Draymond is loud. Yeah, and that's in response to J47 saying Mobley going to get robbed of his third award because he's quiet. Cruel world. Mobley does all of his talking through his play, but as we are quickly learning, it doesn't matter what you do on the court, apparently. The voice matters more. The words have power, and we all know that they do. We try and in this society act like they don't, but they do. And Draymond Green's voice carries. He's a loud guy out there. And look, let me just say this. Draymond Green does have a legitimate and valid case for Defensive Player of the Year. Lately, Evan Mobley has been the Defensive Player of the Year caliber player all season long. That is my problem. It's okay that Draymond Green is getting some praise, getting some acclaim now, especially since the Jimmy Butler trade went through, where that defense has looked awesome, really, really awesome with Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green kind of carrying the load there. But Evan Mobley has been this guy all season long. That's the problem that I have. Truly. A pistol says Allen has some unbelievable hands in traffic. Most bigs can't run and chew gum at the same time. The Smooch says I would have lost it if they really almost blew it. Yeah, me too, man. I'm sitting here. I got my drink in hand, my Jack, and I would have completely lost. I probably would have threw my drink at the wall. Probably would have broke some glass, but not a good way to end the game. I'm glad they won it, but it was not a good performance down the stretch. Jordan React says, do you guys see Stephon Castle? Great Markelle Fultz impression with that missed dunk. W miss saved us. Stephon Castle is a wonderful talent. Damn the inefficiency. He's a rookie. It's going to happen. He was 8 of 16 from the field tonight, though. 50%. 3-point percentage is not great. 16.7, but damn near had a triple-double tonight. So Stephon Castle is probably going to win that Rookie of the Year. I think he's the favorite at this point in time, and deservedly so. And I can't wait to see what this Spurs team looks like with a healthy Wemby, with a healthy a healthy De'Aaron Fox, and maybe Cooper Flag. That team could be really, and CB3 and some of these other pieces. But yeah, this could be a really, really good group. I think they will be in the playoffs next year. Life on the Cross says they have been good at letting teams get back in the game lately. Should have never been that close, had a chance to blow them out. Again, they led by as much as 23 points. They led by 23 at one point. They won the game by 1. Life comes at you fast in the NBA. Let that be a lesson to everybody watching. Let that be a lesson to the Cavs players that if you do not go out there, take your opponent seriously, put in the effort that is required to win, that the professionals on the other side will beat you. Provida number 1 says Barnes cooked Hunter on that last possession but missed it. True. Smash that like button, folks. Do what Provida number 1 says if you're watching over on YouTube. Hell, if you're over on Twitter, X, whatever the fuck people call it these days, do people a favor. Head over to YouTube, hit that like button. Subscribe if you're not yet a subscriber. Jordan React says this BS with the national media now hyping Draymond for Defensive Player of the Year is now too far. Reggie Miller says just give him the trophy now. After him, only one play and Perk saying he's for Draymond. Like, seriously. I agree, man. We're in a world now where people just have such a short attention span. People have short memories, and they forget how dominant Mobley has been all season long, not just this stretch, right? When Wemby went down, and make no mistake, Wemby was the clear-cut favorite prior to his injury to win this award. Wemby was going to win. When Wemby went down, it was a two-man race, essentially, between Jaren Jackson Jr. and Evan Mobley. You can throw Dyson Daniels in there, becoming the first player since Chris Paul to have over 200-plus steals. You can throw Lou Dort in there, who's been a phenomenal isolation defender and has a huge impact from a defensive standpoint for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Hell, SGA has been listed in the top 5 of the odds at various points of the season. But it was essentially a two-man race between Jackson Jr. and Evan Mobley. And then out of nowhere, Draymond Green. And granted, since the Jimmy Butler trade, their defense has gone up. Their efficiency, their clamps, they've been locking shit down for the most part defensively. And Draymond Green has a lot to do with that, but so does Jimmy Butler. My problem is that Draymond has a podcast. He has a huge platform, obviously huge following. His words carry weight, apparently more weight than a lot of us think or thought. And he's talked his way essentially to becoming the betting favorite, not the odds-on favorite, not the favorite to win, but if you look at many sports books, he is the favorite right now. He has the best odds to win over Evan Mobley, who's been dominant all season long. And Mobley, just because he's kind of quiet, doesn't really talk about what he deserves. And we heard him say it recently, like, I think I'm the defensive player of the year. We've heard numerous teammates say he's defensive player of the year award. He deserves a defensive player of the year. We've seen Donovan Mitchell, his teammate, superstar, say, hey, Evan Mobley is the defensive player of the year. We have seen a lot of people say that, but it's not being reflected in the odds as we speak. Paul Sanko says, if they win 67, does Atkinson match best record for first year coach with Steve Kerr? I believe so. You win 67, you break the franchise record, first of all. And again, this is coming in a season. It's only the third time in franchise history that they have won 60 plus games. That is special within its own right. And credit to every other coach out there. And JB deserves a lot of credit for what he has done in Detroit. He is going to be in consideration. But to me, I think one of the hardest things to do is take a team from good to great or from great to elite. And I think that jump has been made by Kenny Atkinson. And I think that is just as impressive as taking a lottery team to a playoff, right? It is just as impressive to me, if not more so impressive, what Kenny Atkinson has managed to do by utilizing everybody to their strengths, by empowering everybody to do what he believes they're capable of doing, by changing the way that the offense is structured here, by making sure that everybody plays a part, plays a role in ways that JB didn't while he was here. But yeah, to answer your question, I think so. D Jackson says, I love how the Cavs move the ball. Great ball movement. I agree with you, man. I agree with you. Paul also says Mobley has 2 defensive player of the month, Green none. Yeah, but this is we live in a world where it's a what have you done for me lately award in world rather. And Green just won that award, and I think no, I don't think he did. I think he won a week, right? Somebody won it. Pistol says national media is only interested in money and appealing to the average sports fan. At the end of the day, yeah, I think most of the best coverage you will find is going to be local at this point. You see a lot of independent journalists and very, very hardworking people in media at the local level and not necessarily at the national level. There are some people, right? Good to see Zach Lowe back, right? But at the end of the day, I think most of the coverage from a national perspective is, or a national standpoint rather, is lacking in true depth, like true coverage. And I think that you will find much more good content, much more in-depth analysis at the local level and the independent level. Talking and Grubbing Media says national media only wants to appeal. Oh, I think I already read that. Oh man, it's been a night. Jordan React says, yeah, Evan won almost all months for rookie of the month and got robbed late for rookie of the year. That's a travesty. I still can't let that one go. Scotty Barnes, also very deserving that season, but Mobley was clearly the one who deserved that award the most. I don't know. Hopefully they reward him with the defensive player of the year this season. But if in the event that it does not happen, hopefully it does not go to Draymond Green. I'll accept any other outcome. If it doesn't go to Mobley, let it not go to Green. Let it go to Dort. Let it go to Dyson Daniels. Hell, let it go to Ivica Zubac, man. There are a lot of names out there that have been very deserving this season. But at the end of the day, no, I think Mobley has been the best of the best, sans Wemby. Wemby was going to win the award, hands down. But in a Wemby-less world or in a NBA without Wemby for the duration of the second half of the season, yeah, Evan Mobley has been that guy. And this might be the best chance that he has to win it for a while, because Wemby's going to be challenging for year after year after year after year. And there are other defenders out there that are pretty damn good too. But I'm glad to pick up the win. I truly am. 62 wins is very, very hard to do in the modern NBA with so much parity at times from season to season. Again, just the third time in the history of this organization that they have done that, 160 plus, and they have a chance to break the franchise record for wins. If they win out, they will essentially break that record, and I hope they do. But if they lock up the number one seed after this next game, that becomes less and less likely, as they will begin resting players, and we'll have to see. We'll have to find out. Cavaliers, not the greatest performance tonight, but still, we remain fans. We remain confident that they will stop doing this as they look to close out the season here with a game against the one of the final five, beginning with the Sacramento Kings on Sunday at 6. Be there or be square, as they say. As always, tell you guys, if you like to reach out to me, now you can. It's Cavalier_pod on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and more. If you want to be added to the It's Cavalier Discord chat, you know what to do. Leave a rating, leave a review, send a screenshot, etc. review to itscavalier53@gmail.com, and I will send you said invite. If you want to support your boy in a small but helpful way, consider becoming a member over on Patreon. You can do so literally for as low as $1 a month. You never know how much that helps out your favorite content creators. That said, go Cavs. Have a good night.